A perfect storm. A perfect storm is an event in which a rare combination of circumstances drastically aggravates the event. The term perfect storm is nearly synonymous with a worst-case scenario. A scenario where everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Where a plethora of factors come into play all at once to create one single event.
If I actually had the superpowers. But I don't in real life.
This event we now know as Christine Weston Chandler. Christine Weston Chandler is the now infamous creator of one of the world's most hated as well as ironically loved webcomics out there, Sonichu. She's a person who has become synonymous with toxic online culture, horrible parenting, and autism.
I can go as a Michelele.
I recycle my own semen.
Multiple documentaries have been made about Christine, about her rise to stardom, her fight to get a partner, as well as her fall from grace and spiraling out of control. Here, at the Webcomic Relief, we don't review people, we review comics. But for Sonichu, it is impossible to separate Christine from her work. And to bring us up to speed before we get into the comic, we must first find out what has happened up till now. Sonichu is a window into the mind of Christine Weston Chandler. And so to get a perfect picture of the comic, it is imperative we first find out what led to the creation of this comic, what scenarios surrounded it, and what Christine was trying to do with it.
If the health department of Greene County sees those videos that you put on the damn internet, they could condemn our house and we would have to move out of it.
Join me today as we dive into the world of the creator of Sonichu and take a deep look at the perfect storm, Christine Weston Chandler.
Run.
It all started with a video.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and dudes of all teenagers, as well as the gals. My name is Weston Chandler. I am here, and y'all are there.
Today, this video lives on in infamy. That is because this was people's first introduction to the lady of the hour, Christine Weston Chandler. But this is not where we'll begin. To better understand Christine, we must go even further back. Christine was born February the 24th, 1982 in Charlottesville, Virginia to the parents Bob and Barbara. Christine was diagnosed early on with autism and would show signs of this autism from pretty early on in her life. Such as when her babysitter locked her in a room as a child, it traumatized Christine so much that she ended up not speaking for 6 whole years. When she finally did start speaking again, she eventually went on to win a competition that got her a massive gift card as well as a TV spot.
And check this out, it's the KB Toy Store's Watch and Win sweepstakes. All you gotta do is watch the show and then write down the Sonic Says message. For an entry blank, go to a participating KB Toy Store or use a 3x5 card and mail it into this station. You might win some of this cool Sonic stuff. Prizes may vary. There's even a $1,000 shopping spree at KB Toy Stores. The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and KB Toy Store's Watch and Win sweepstakes. Watch and you can win!
Finally tonight, Sonic the Hedgehog is running wildly in the Chandler household this weekend. 12-year-old Christian Chandler of Charlottesville was the winner in a video game shopping spree. Christian is one of only about 100 winners nationally to receive $1,000 worth of Sega games and equipment. For his parents, it's just another example of how well he's doing. Christian is a high-functioning autistic child. This past fall, on his own initiative, he entered a contest based on a favorite cartoon character.
What I had to do was exactly watch Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon.
This marked a turning point in Christine's life, and a lot of her behavior going forward can be traced back to this small moment of fame and moment of charity. Christine grew up alone despite having a brother. Apparently, Christine's mother is a known emotional abuser to the point where Christine's brother, Cole Smithy, filed for sovereignty and got the hell out of there. In emails sent to Christine, Cole described how he was being punished by Barbara and her partner at the time, Jerry Harmon, in ways that included ass beatings, cold showers, and bizarre scenarios. Barbara was also lying to Cole, claiming his father was a man called Jack Dale Smithy, whom she claimed to have been married to, although this has later been proven to be a lie. Barbara was also a serious hoarder, keeping things laying around the house till it effectively became a maze.
My family is a bunch of pack rats. Downstairs bathroom. Not much going on in here. And another hallway. The utility room with washer and dryer. The hallway leading outside. Door.
Christine's father, Robert Franklin Chandler Jr., was only a little better. Bob was known to always be eager to engage in conversations with just about anyone and had an almost infectious adoration for jazz music, of which he several times displayed a great know-how for. However, it takes only one look into the world of Christine's life to get an idea of just how distant the two were from one another.
And now we wander in on my family. Say hello, Father.
Yeah,
Making our Christmas movie.
I see you're wasting your chip.
Well, I'm gonna put it onto VHS anyway.
I see. Alright.
Robert appeared very aware of Christine's autism. It seemed like he was trying his hardest to find ways to both treat Christine as a normal person, while still taking steps in his own way to make things easier for her, such as when he bribed one of Christine's friends with money to stay friendly with her. When Christine would make obvious displays of autistic behavior, and that is not meant to be a derogatory term, Robert would chastise her, where Barbara would be more inclined to forgive it.
Shut that goddamn thing off. I don't care what you do. You get all that stuff off of there tonight.
I'm working on it.
Go work on it.
I am
Do
working.
you realize something? Let me tell you. If the health department of Greene County sees those videos that you put on the damn internet, they could condemn our house and we would have to move out of it. You go get that goddamn stuff off of there and fast.
I'm working on it. I was making a video for you to tell everybody to get the images off of the internet. It's out my control.
Oh, you get them off.
It's out my control. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to
You
go.
loaded them up there. You unload them.
I'm working on it.
Go do it.
I am doing it. I'm sorry.
Get in here and do it. I'll be up all night with you if I have to. You won't get any sleep for that stuff.
I'm working on it.
Get in there and start.
I'm working on it. Let me do this stupid video so I can tell everybody at my command to get everything, help me get everything off the internet about our house.
I don't want to get kicked out of my house by the health department. And what you just did was stick a knife in our back and kill us.
All right, let me just
get that stuff off of there.
I'm
Get it off of there fast.
I'm working on it.
Eventually, Robert too would start sharing this mindset, ending up being overly forgiving of whatever Christine did, as long as it could be chalked up to her autism. This would go on to become a cornerstone of Christine's behavior. From what can be gathered about Christine's early life, she seemed to seek refuge from the real world in movies, cartoons, video games, and, by her parents' behest, religion.
I'll put out my Dragonair, even though it has 60 damage on it. Oh boy. And now it has 300 on it. Slam attack.
Even today, these elements are very obvious in Christine's own works as well as overall behavior. Stuff such as seeing herself as a heroine and everyone who's not her as villains, seeing the evil as something that has to be conquered, and believing movie-esque actions should reward typical movie rewards, such as love and affection.
And you have crossed the line. And if you want to see me at court, I'll see you in Charlottesville court. And I'm doing this parody of Sailor Moon in response to the Lost Sailor Moon title that would have been released to Japan for Nintendo Wii.
Christine grew up, and already from a very young age, she preferred the company of women. However, she would typically see every friendly gesture by her gal pals as romantic or sexual advance, making most interactions with her awkward and uncomfortable. As time went on, Christine would go on to create Sonichu, a character that's a mixture of the character Sonic from the Sonic video game franchise and the character Pikachu from the Pokemon franchise, believing that this was enough of a transformative difference that she wouldn't get in trouble with any copyright. Eventually, Christine would start using Sonichu as a protagonist in a comic of the same name, taking place in the made-up city Kvikville, which got its name from Christine's initials, CWC. She would later post the comic online, where people slowly started taking notice, not because of them liking the comic, but because Christine made it no secret who she was and how old she was, which didn't reflect at all in the quality of the comic. When people realized Christine was also posting videos online in a very much of a video log format, a lol cow was born.
It has come to my attention that I have a lot more fans of my electric hedgehog Pokemon Sonichu than I had originally thought. And I thank each and every one of you for your support. Please understand, I am a 25-year-old high-functioning autistic male with a simple, peaceful dream of becoming a father of a sweet little pretty girl who I will doubly name Crystal Weston Chandler. Crystal, a name that sounds similar to mine, but it has a nice ring to it, and it's also similar to the illustrious metal that is mined from the Earth's ground.
For those of you who do not know, a lol cow is an individual online who will often do something worth commenting on or laugh at, effectively milking content out of the subject, thus the name lol cow. Not understanding this, Christine would either assume her newfound audience was people who unironically loved her comic, or were just brainless idiots who would eventually grow tired of commenting on their dislikes of the comic. Oh, how wrong she was. Christine would continue to post new pages to her Sonichu comic, and people were very quick in picking up on obvious real-life people and events being depicted in the comic. Thus, a sport was made to cross-reference events happening in the comic with what Christine would openly discuss in the videos she was posting online. Christine, who had up to now been a very sheltered person, suddenly had an audience and people who she could talk to who actually replied and who seemed to have a genuine interest in her works. Given the replies would oftentimes be harsh and derogatory insults to Christine, but either she didn't care or she didn't understand it. One thing is for certain, however, and that is that Christine believed she deserved the audience she was gathering and would oftentimes make requests or straight up demands for her following to do various things, often things leading to harassment of other people.
So anyway, boycott buy the merchandise from the UK. Buy any merchandise from there. Boycott it. Don't do it.
Due to this newfound attention, Christine would go from posting stuff exclusively for her close circle of friends and family, and instead post the ongoings of her life unfiltered and unwise. As time passed, more and more people seemed to focus on her videos rather than her comic. This became the catalyst for the internet's obsession with Christine Weston Chandler. Before we continue, let us address the elephant in the room. 2 words. Internet bullying sucks. Okay, so 3 words. I'm not gonna mince words here. Christine's kind of a goofball. She's awkward with a capital A and has a worldview that is not reflective of how the real world works. There's also other factors working against her, but in the interest of not turning this into bullying her myself, I won't go into those. Long story short, Christine is very much a go-to target for online bullying, and it didn't exactly help Christine that she didn't know how to act online, nor know how much to share. This would lead to things such as her openly disclosing how she's recycling her own semen.
I recycle my own semen because, yes, I do masturbate. I'm not ashamed to admit it. As a lot of guys, I'm sure, have done the same thing in their time. Anyway, basically, into the cup and, I recycle it. So that way I won't lose any unborn children.
How she wears a diaper, proudly prancing around with her inflatable sex doll, and much, much more. And obviously the internet ate it up. It got to the point where the internet would access her emails, her website, her forum posts, her PlayStation account, you name it. If Christine had anything with a password, you best believe they were gonna find their way in. Which is a perfect segue to talk about today's sponsor, NordPass. NordPass is the app you want if you don't want your passwords and your private life being breached. With their state-of-the-art technology, NordPass creates complicated and unhackable passwords at the press of a button that you can use for any and all your accounts. And if you worry you'll forget those many complicated accounts, you can just use the app to keep track of them all and access them whenever you need. You can also store all your important credit card information on this app, making sure no ne'er-do-wells get their hands on them. And don't worry, NordPass you can trust, as you may know these people from NordVPN who have been keeping your internet browsing history safe for longer than I care to remember. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, use the link in the description or use the coupon code WCR and get 2 months off of your NordPass subscription today. As I was saying, it's incredibly easy to make fun of Christine. Even I did it a lot in the past. I even made fun of her transitioning from a guy into a girl, which is something I'd actually like to apologize for. Back then I was of the mindset that Christine only transitioned to get attention, and while there has been things that could very well point to this being the case, that still doesn't pardon me making the jokes that I did. And again, for that I am really sorry. I've taken steps going forwards to make sure I never repeat such behavior, because since then I've learned much more about the trans community and gotten to know some amazing people within it. Now, there might be some people who are very opposed to me apologizing for this and even calling Christine her in this entire video. And I know that because I would have maybe done the same at one point in my life. But it's really not for anyone but the person themselves to know why they transition, and no matter what the reason, we should support that decision. We can comment on the misdeeds that may happen afterwards, and don't worry, we'll get into that later. But truth of the matter is, we as outsiders will never fully know what the person in question is dealing with. We may have some ideas of it, but fact of the matter is, we'll never know for certain. And I thought I knew everything about Christine back then. I thought I knew for a fact that she only transitioned into becoming a girl to better get with girls. But after having researched Christine far more than most people online, I can safely say that Christine transitioning is the most obvious thing that could have possibly happened, and that anyone could have seen it coming if they knew as much about her life as we now do, thanks to most of it being readily available online. And I'll be real, I fell into this hole. I started finding out a lot of stuff about Christine, and frankly, I started feeling terrible for her. Christine was just an awkward person online who ended up getting bullied for being unapologetically themselves. They didn't know that Christine's school counselor allegedly sexually assaulted her.
And while I respect men in general, I hate the homos. I actually do have a past story, as I have realized from repressed memories back from the Greene County days. But I will not go further than that because y'all would have a field day.
They didn't know that Christine was growing up in a household where her autism was treated as much as a blight by the devil as it was a sign from God. They didn't know most of her family life was being kept secret to her and would have to learn about her family little by little as she grew up. They didn't know that while seeming supportive, no one probably hated Christine's autism more than her dad, who would openly decry his dissatisfaction of his child's behavior and commenting on how it poorly reflected on himself. They didn't know how the Chandler family would take great steps to ensure people didn't get a look into how things were going on in the house, because if they did, the government would probably make them leave. All they were focused on was pictures like this, where it seemed like Christine had dried semen on her pants, rather than pictures like this, where you have to be blind not to see the emotional distance between Christine and her father. Christine is no saint, and we'll go hard on her later, but I don't think people understand the full scope of Christine till they research her as much as they've spent on laughing at her. If you got any interest in Christine, you have obviously heard about Gino Samuel's amazing comprehensive documentary about Christine, and if not, I implore you to check it out. In that, he asks what it is that keeps us fascinated about Christine, what it is that keeps so many people's eyes on Christine and has maintained this interest for so long. And I think over time I finally realized what it was. And that is that as much as Christine is a victim, just as much, if not a lot more, is she a bully. So, if you thought I was just gonna sit here and talk about how mean the internet was for poking fun at Christine, then you're absolutely wrong. Did people go overboard? Yes. Are some of the people who bullied Christine a billion times worse than Christine was at her worst? Absolutely. Should some of these people get either legally persecuted or getting straight up executed? Yes. Seriously, some of the bullying done to Christine is downright insane. Listening to just one of the calls Christine would be subject to is enough to make even a grown man sick. And this here is just the tamer stuff.
Chris? Yeah, I came back now. I wonder what happened there.
I don't know. But this is... Can we talk with the fans for like 5 minutes? And then I'll tell you, please?
I'm sorry.
No. No, I'm ready to tell you.
Okay.
This whole time, Chris, you've been having sex with a 13-year-old boy, you sick fuck.
What?
Yeah, I'm a 13-year-old boy, Chris, and you've been having sex with me this entire time. I'm gonna give all your fucking data to Chris Hansen, you fucking pedo fork. So you better get the fuck out now, before I report you to the fucking feds. Get out.
Now wait a minute. I did not know you were a 13-year-old.
Yes, you did. They're not gonna believe you. They're gonna fucking put you away.
Fine,
Tell
I'll
me,
wait.
Chris, no, wait a minute, wait. Now I seem to have you in a bit of a vice grip. Now, I'm gonna let you talk, but if you leave, your PSN is going far away.
I'm not leaving now. So, let me guess, you were matched the whole time, weren't you?
And Julie, yes, both of them. Both figments of my imagination. They never existed. There is no Julie.
Okay.
She never existed, Chris. She died 5 years ago.
Like, imagine a person like Christine who has a very childish view of the world and lived a very sheltered life, finding out that the girl she was infatuated with was actually a bully who had also held her PSN account ransom and blackmailed her into doing a bunch of obscene stuff. I genuinely mean it when I say these people are sick. And obviously, because of Christine's gullible nature, this would happen again and again and again. Every time Christine would believe she had found someone new, the person would turn out to be fake. That being said, however, Christine quickly proved herself to be a fickle and uncaring person herself. Like, when she finally did get what she thought to be a girlfriend, she was also flirting with another girl behind her back, and when confronted by this, she would apologize, but not really. You know, that kind of Blizzard type of apology. And the moment the girl has left the call, screw her, on to the next. When another potential girlfriend was thought dead, Christine quickly moved along, brought up her death in passing, and upon being pressured into it, made a teeny tiny eulogy in her Sonichu comic.
There's been some fire going, there's been some brush fire or wildfire, that sort of stuff, fire, going on in the southern Australia area, where my sweetheart, Sarah Cassandra McKenzie, Panda Halo, she was in that neck of the woods, and I haven't heard from her in like over 2 weeks. And the fire's been going on for like during the past few weeks, so I pray that she's still alive. I hope she didn't die in the fire.
Given we obviously know now that Panda Halo was fake and didn't die, but Christine didn't. Now, before we get into this, I want to be very clear. Yes, Christine is autistic, and there are plenty of misgivings that can be chalked up to that mixed with poor parenting. But it also needs to be stressed that that doesn't absolve Christine for all the terrible things she's done, of which we're gonna be getting into now. The biggest and most obvious thing you'll notice about Christine is a thing that stayed consistent ever since she first appeared online, which is her entitlement. The first fan art she received, she complained about and asked people to redo. Given some of it was art done by trolls, but again, she didn't know that. She oftentimes cited the lack of work that was being done on her comic was due to her lacking motivation, and people should give her compliments and uplifting comments or even money to raise her spirits. Even before her time on the internet, there was an episode where she didn't win a certain award for doing exceptionally well at school, and because she didn't get that, she was absolutely furious and during graduation went on stage to get her diploma without looking anyone in the eye or shaking anybody's hand. A thing Robert would go on to comment was one of the most disgraceful and embarrassing experiences he had ever been part of, and a stain to the Chandler name. We'll get more into this as time goes on, but it is my hypothesis that Christine winning that contest as a kid gave her this mindset that she never grew out of. It is also very clear that Christine thinks of herself and herself only. She might give you the idea that she's thinking of others, but that is only so she can appear better. Literally every time something bad would happen, heck, even when there was a death in the family and Christine got to speak about it, she'd immediately turn it to be about her. Or the time where Christine was multiple times asked by her friend Megan to stop making advances on her, and she'd still do it, complete with drawing porn of her and posting it online. And even when Megan found out about this, cause it was being sent in an email to her family by some trolls, she begged Christine to take it down, but Christine was too busy talking about how sorry she was and how it made her feel rather than take action. And of course, can't forget about her mindset that almost any and all women who she shows interest in, if they don't return it, then screw them or they don't know any better. Christine is not above blackmailing people or emotionally manipulating people either. It is very clear that Christine wishes to be part of a community, but she also wants to be special and unique in that community. And anyone else who challenges this is to be discredited or bullied out of said community. This can both be seen with how Christine adamantly fought against having people with Asperger's be accepted as people with autism, and will go on to make a huge mockery of people with Asperger's, claiming that having autism was much worse, like it was a contest.
And I don't care much for Aspergians, and I do not care to be associated with them, and I do not accept the scientific fact that autism is linked to Asperger's at any time. I would quote myself as to what I said in the extra part of my Little Bit Tattoo animation, but I don't remember the words at this point.
There's also the time, after coming out as a trans lesbian, that Christine did everything in her power to discredit the reasons for why other people were transitioning, calling them names and refusing to let them into the LGBTQ+ community, as if it was her decision.
I'm really pissed off at Jeff. I'm going by his male name because he is no woman, no female soul whatsoever. Regardless of the fact of having his balls chopped up. Sounding like a high-pitched choir boy now.
Now, again, I must reiterate, yes, Christine is autistic, but there's oh so much more to this than just autism. As we go further into this, I hope you will start to see why I think that Christine is both the victim, but also not a great person. So know that if I'm throwing jabs at Christine, it is not because she's trans, and it is with the knowledge she's autistic kept in mind. What the trolls did to Christine was messed up, but being a victim does not give you a free pass to be a villain. Christine was becoming famous, but not in the way she wished for. While there was an increase in people who genuinely appreciated Christine's efforts and creativity, most adoration was merely a front for trolls to get in and make fun of Christine. Because Christine was not hiding the fact that she was looking for a boyfriend-free girl by mentioning it in almost every single video and page where she appeared in the comic, people used this opportunity to mess with her. Even people who didn't know Christine from the internet would do this. Like at one point, a group of girls dared a fellow girl to ask Christine out on a date, but Christine eventually found out they only did this to mess with her. People are messed up. The trolls were not much better. At first, people would pretend to be girls, as it was mostly boys targeting Christine, and pretend to have an interest in Christine. Christine, being horny as hell and desperate for companionship, would jump into every advanced hook, line, and sinker. An example of her desperation can be found in a now deleted email where a troll pretended to come from a broken home where she'd be beaten if she didn't bring home money for her crack-addicted father so he could buy drugs, and thus found it necessary to either strip or act as a prostitute. She asked what she should do to Christine, obviously knowing whatever response Christine would have to such a dire scenario would be completely off base. And off base it was, as Christine would use this opportunity to make advances on the girl, saying she should absolutely become a prostitute, because then she'd get to have sex, and Christine wouldn't mind helping her become really good at it with some free lessons. You might think I'm just bringing this up to dunk on Christine, but it actually becomes important later on. The first group of trolls who pretended to be a girl catfished Christine into believing she was communicating and sharing explicit messages and images with a girl, but went on to reveal she was actually doing this with an underage boy. During this pretend relationship, various parts of information was found out about Christine. Things such as her recycling her own semen that she didn't bathe regularly, and she'd often poop her pants. Obviously, this just made more and more trolls pile into this whole thing. If these people found such golden nuggets of information on Christine, who was to say what the other people could find? And thus, more and more people started joining the fray. One of such people was the infamous Clyde Cash, also known as Greg Mays, who had actually helped the trolls earlier in pretending to be a girl Julie and thus catfished Christine. Clyde had realized Christine's obsession with being a superhero and thus took on the role of the supervillain. This is despite during their various confrontations, Clyde would actually end up warning Christine about several things that would become relevant later in her life, such as her spending habits, her refusal of getting a job, her terrible treatment of women, and even to a certain extent predicted how Christine was gonna come out as transgender.
You do not want to get on my bad side again! Or even worse! String all that Clyde Cash! I will pie his lights out! if I ever meet that bastard in person. But anyway, I'll say it again. Leave me and my friends alone!
Despite of this, Clyde pretended to be the perfect supervillain that Christine could conquer, complete with maniacal laughter, evil monologues, and even pretending to rape Christine's partner at the time, Panda Halo. However, I think they believed they'd get more of a rise out of Christine, but Christine actually just ended up moving casually along to a new potential partner, showing she didn't really care about Panda Halo in the first place.
Yeah, keep your nose out of our business, Clyde.
Look, I worry for your family and everybody, okay? I'm trying to look out for the best of you, Chris. There are much more evil men in this world.
Later down the line, Clyde will go on to use different aliases, such as Greg Mays, a web designer who worked for Nintendo, and use this to gain Christine's trust and through that access to her website, which he then ended up holding hostage until Christine gave in to his demands, with stuff such as making videos confessing that she was gay. Also, real quick, if you're getting disgusted by all this, it is perfectly fine if you skip this video or jump straight to the read-through of the actual comic. I just think it's important that we get the full picture of the person who used one of the most prolific webcomics in the world as an extension of her own life. But I understand that it isn't everyone's cup of tea. With that said, people were having a great time watching Christine and Clyde duke it out, like a superhero and supervillain going at it. And it was just a matter of time before more people tried to create this villainous persona that could torment Christine. One of these people is Christopher Ducksworth, who decided to pick up the alias Liquid Chris, as a cheeky reference to Metal Gear Solid, where Liquid Snake served as the evil clone of the protagonist Solid Snake. Liquid Chris had noticed how Christine had a pretty big ego and realized the best way to get under her skin was to attack that ego. As of such, he claimed to be the true Christine Weston Chandler and would dress himself, share mannerisms that Christine had, and even claimed that Christine was the imposter.
My comics, and I even baked some myself, some Chucky Chip cookies in the shape of Sonichu's head. So I actually sold all my merchandise by the afternoon time and made lots of money. Here it is there.
People were quick to pick up on what was going on, and thus the support for Liquid Chris came flooding in, showering him with fan art. Girls would throw themselves at him and would even talk to Christine about how huge his penis was. The latter part would come from Liquid Chris's sweetheart Casey, who Christine had a crush on.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and get it out of the way. How big was Chris's penis?
What? What?
I just asked you how big was Chris's penis?
That's a really odd question for you to ask me. But I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you it was definitely a little around 9 inches.
Okay, really? 9 inches?
Yeah, sometimes it hurt, but it was good and it was thick.
As Chris and Christine duked it out and eventually settled their score in a musical showdown, highlighting Christine's obsession with singing and music. However, the contest was not the end of Liquid, and shortly after, a video was recorded of Liquid tied up, seemingly being kidnapped and tortured by Christine.
Are you the real Christian? Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. Then why do you dress up like him? It's a symbol so we don't have to be afraid of scum like you, Ian. Oh, you do, Christian. You really do. Huh? Yeah. Oh, shh. You think you've made Quickville a better place? Look at me.
Look at me!
With the apparent death of Liquid, Casey was distraught and posted a video confirming Liquid's disappearance and announcing her withdrawal from their engagement. This turned out to be another step of their effort to troll Christine, as Christine had made several advances towards Casey. In fact, Christine had several times called Casey under the guise of being Liquid to have sexual conversations with her. She would also try and lure Casey to her house under the pretense of being Liquid Chris. So Christine, who had called Liquid an imposter, was now actively the one being the imposter of the imposter. Casey turned out to be kind of a wild card. She would lead Christine on and obviously played with her emotions, but as an extension would try to use this to help Christine. This would be done in ways such as saying she'd found people who ate healthy hot to get Christine to eat more healthy or to exercise. She wanted a partner who could provide, so she wanted Christine to go out there and get a job.
He was encouraging me for exercise, and I was doing that, and not eat so much high cholesterol type foods, and I have not been eating that much. So that's, by the way,
Chris, you do eat high cholesterol foods. Well, everything you told me has high cholesterol, and sodium. Sodium plays a part in it too. I mean, that's all you eat.
Yeah, plus also I should mention that sometimes I've been getting up at like 12 o'clock, and I eat like 2 meals in a day.
You only eat 2 meals a day, or you eat 2 meals at once? Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure your portion control is horrible, too.
2 meals in one day.
That's bad. You're supposed to have, like, 5 little meals. That's gonna kill your metabolism, too. I mean, that's one of the problems I have, is that I don't eat enough. But the problem is if you eat 2 meals a day, but yet those 2 meals are able to do the amount of calories you need, that's just bad.
In fact, even though Casey was a troll and lied through her teeth, she probably did more to put Christine on the right course than anyone ever did. Eventually, however, Casey needed an out, which came in the form of her make-believe dad, Matthew. She set up a phone call meeting between Christine and Matthew, where Matthew would talk with Christine as if Christine was a potential partner for Casey to sort of approve her. Through this, he would ask her various questions pertaining to the changes Casey had asked Christine to do. Unfortunately, we now saw how little advancement Christine had done, and the two of them did not get along at all. Obviously, because Matthew at no point had any intentions of actually approving of Christine.
You're avoiding my question. Why are you on? I think it's called Social Security. I mean, why do you get it? I mean, I'm a pretty strong Republican. You know, we don't really like that whole welfare thing. You know, we work, and if we can't work, we go join the military. That's what I did.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, you see, I'm high functionally autistic.
Are you now?
Yeah.
And
I met that at a young age, and I still had just a few years ago.
So, isn't that autism thing? It's not like a. You're not retarded, are you?
I'm sorry. Not really. What?
I mean, I'm just saying. You know, isn't that that's a genetic thing, right? I mean, I don't want any. If you're really gonna get with my daughter, I don't want retard babies.
Yeah, autism is not genetic.
Casey dropped Christine as a result of the fight and instead returned to the waiting arms of Liquid Chris, who had resurfaced and would continue to resurface, especially during the arc of Asperchu.
I'm coming for ya! I am the only one here who is fit for Casey. And another thing, and this one's for you. A real deal. Cartier Hameha!
Enter Alec Benson Leary, the creator of the webcomic Asperchu. Asperchu was an obvious parody of Christine, even though Alec stated the contrary. Asperchu shared many different similarities with Christine, such as being overweight, wearing glasses, the characteristic striped shirt, the Sonichu medallion, and communicating with people through YouTube videos. They were also both busy looking for a boyfriend-free girl. When Alec first entered the scene, it was implied he had been in talks with Christine through her mailbag, where he'd come across as a big fan of Christine, even though Christine had been adamant in pushing everything that had to do with Alec away. Eventually, this exploded into a massive thing as Asperchu issue C came out where Christine appeared. Christine responded to the comic and interestingly only seemed to have noticed how she was set on fire in the comic, paying no attention to former enemies and trolls showing up, such as Liquid Chris. This kind of helped people get an idea of how absorbed with herself Christine was becoming. Again, much like Casey, Alec in his own twisted way was showing a form of concern with Christine that he tried to bring out through his trolling. Where Casey had been trying to help Christine with her life and taking care of it, Alec seemed to be focusing on Christine's professional endeavors and her comic. Most of the issues Christine would have, Alec would throw back at her, explaining that it was only the case because Christine's upload schedule had dropped drastically.
I kind of want to ask you about, I'm actually getting some letters about Sonichu, about why you're not updating daily, and I was kind of curious about that.
But for your information, I am updating daily. I draw I draw and color my 2 pages a day. I can't help it if I don't have access to my computer or if I can't get to it right away. Besides which, my biological clock has been fickle on me. It's been making me fall asleep earlier.
Okay, well, I understand.
It's been difficult to rearrange my schedule and get back in a synchronized routine like I would be.
Maybe we could get an alarm clock. You know, I'm just kind of curious. Like, I know it takes like an hour to do each page. Is that about what you spend? I would kind of guess. I'm just kind of confused why you would spend an hour to draw a page, but not take the extra 60 seconds to upload it. I think consistency is an important thing for fans.
Wait a minute, it takes more than 60 seconds to scan it and fit it in Photoshop, then upload it. It probably would take half an hour for all that to work.
I didn't know that you did Photoshop work with your pages. What do you use Photoshop for, if I may ask? I'm just kind of curious. I thought
to change it from handwritten text to more legible typed text.
If I remember right, I think kind of one of the criticisms you had about Asperchu was that it was not completely, hand-drawn original, because I do use Photoshop in part of my creative process, but it sounds like you actually do kind of the same thing. Which is, that's fine. I mean, digital media is where, the art world is going. But I thought that you drew it all on paper and then uploaded it.
For your information, I did draw it all on paper. The only part that I edit in Photoshop is the text, what you read.
Okay, but it just seems a little hypocritical that you do use Photoshop in the creative process, but you criticize me for it.
Alec furthermore tried to mimic the same art style as Christine to make Christine confront her art through the eyes of an audience rather than the creator. And sure enough, Christine hated the comic, calling it low resolution and blocky art. It was clear there was some animosity from Christine to Alec, and the two of them would often have phone calls in which they both aired their frustrations with one another. At this point in time, Christine's website, the Wikipedia, had started advertising for Asperchu, which annoyed Christine greatly, especially because the comic was very pro-gay men, which Christine found repulsive.
Either you remove your ads altogether, or I will have your head on this. I'm already having your head on this because as much as I have a curse on
I possibly have a curse on me. You. Addressed to Mr. Mao of the Asperpedia. Take down the ads, or prematurely rot.
In these talks, we got to see another side of Christine, as she at this point in time had made several videos threatening to kill and harm Alec and Christine's webmaster Mao, and when Alec requested apologies, this is the best Christine could muster.
As for the announcements, I admit Alec has a sizable fan base, possibly greater than my own, currently. I originally had permission for use Sonichu in my comics from Evan, but then he took it away. Simona was not mine, so I've given it back to him by killing her later. I've been editing Simona article. I'll just delete it altogether later today, or later on. I apologize to Alec for calling him naive multiple times. And apologize to Mao. Here's a forgiveness blessing. Forgiveness blessing. There you go. Forgive me, but I just had to dig a bunch of snow. It's snowing now. My car's stuck. And I apologize to Alec for taking Asperchew and his recreated characters for re-editing and whatnot. There'll be a page later explaining all that. That was another apology I made to him earlier about pretending my mother. I apologize for accusing him for female entrapment and rumors about rape. It was never meant to be rape. It was just like, he had those 4 rose chews in his basement, kept them in cages, treated them like hamsters. Giant hamster wheels, water bottle, food pellets. No rape. Just hamsters. You don't rape a hamster. And I had no excuse for not updating up some days. But real life just happens, though. That's my only excuse, real life. Other than that, I have no excuse. And I apologize for disrespect in the mailbags and belating updates. Yeah, so with that, I'll leave you all with that. And I'm alive, safe, well. Okay, have a good day.
But during these calls, we truly got to see the part that most people had been fearing when following Sonichu, which was Christine's inability to separate herself from her work, fully believing that the beings from her comic were in fact real. We'd already seen a disconnect between Christine and reality, with things such as her believing in the fact that she could actually throw Kamehamehas and more. But in this call with Alec, it becomes incredibly clear that Christine fully believes that her characters have real feelings and emotions, and that they exist independent of what Christine makes them do, going as far as to say that Alec disagreeing this point of view is naive. To anyone who knows how bad it would eventually go for Christine, this audio clip is no doubt gonna make the hair off the back of your neck stand up.
Chris, you do understand that a child, a human being, is substantially more than a comic character, right? They're not the same thing. They're not even close. Of course I would name a child. Children are real, and children are not our property. I mean, if I had a child, I would give it all the love and support it needed, but it is its own person, or he or she, I should say. Whereas a comic character is just, it's whatever you draw on paper or in Photoshop. I mean, when I draw Asperchew on paper, that's the only place he exists. And then I upload him onto my computer, and that's where he exists. And then he exists on the web. So as a character, he grows, but he's never a person.
Well, anyway, it's just something for you to think about. Okay, yeah.
We can agree to disagree.
What if she was on the other foot? What if Asperchew created you?
Well, then I'd be a comic character myself, and I wouldn't have any thoughts or feelings. So that's a moot point.
You think that comic character would not have their own thoughts and feelings?
No.
Are naive.
Chris, you have told me that you think that a comic character is fundamentally as much of a person as a real human being. That is the naive thought.
No,
I'm the writer. I'm like the god of the Asperchu world. I decide what goes on in Asperchu's world. I decide who and what Asperchu is and what he thinks and feels, if anything, which he doesn't, because it's still just a character on paper. And when I put the pen down, Asperchu stops being there. I mean, nothing exists in Asperchu's world that I haven't drawn.
Boy,
it's naive to think that there's anything more.
On the 1st of March 2010, Bob, Christine's dad, was taken to the hospital due to complications with his heart. While this was going on, Christine had retreated herself to a room where she was blackmailing people and extorting them.
Attention, citizens of the internet. I am making a return. Y'all should know me by now, if in case you don't. I am Christian Weston Chandler, the original creator of Sonichu and Rosechu and the Electric Hedgehog Pokemon. Firstly, upon that note, I would like to inform everyone that it was originally meant to be a TVY7 rated, friendship, socializing, promoting type of series. It is not meant to be taken otherwise in any adulterous forms. And with that, I will now continue with why I am making my return. I am ready to initiate negotiations and paybacks with the trolls and summer bullies that have been defiling me within the past 5 years, in the past 4 years. Firstly, I would like to make it well known that I have information of such trolls and cyberbullies, of which, at that point, if I released them, they could be easily trolled back by anyone. And the first among the chopping block I would like to ensue, Surf Shack Tito, or should I say, Don in Michigan. And I'm not saying that he's a total fat person, but he would make the really big Buddha look like a supermodel in comparison. In fact, with his looks, he could be a Rasta Buddha. And I show you only a fragment of the photograph. Now, Don, let's talk business. If you do not want me to reveal the entire photograph, or any of the remainder of your information of which I have upon my possession, you will follow my demands. And they are listed as such. I want you to come forward with your participation in PlayStation Network hackings directly to Sony Computer Entertainment America and Sony Computer Entertainment Japan with a live video, unaltered, well, slightly altered. You may blur your face. That is the only option that you get, blurring your face. You will apologize to Sony and myself for hacking into the PlayStation Network at all, because I know you are responsible for that. And also, I would like you to, within that same video or in a separate video, apologize directly to my ex-girlfriend Heather and her family. You may even call them up on the telephone that you are the one among which responsible for pretending to be me and stopping that relationship between us. Because I would like to have peace between my past friends because I don't like there to be bad things and ill tidings between people. And I know it was partially my fault too on that, by the way, within that relationship breakup. But anyway, moving on with my demands, I would also like you to send me via U.S. mail $1,000 cash, American, unmarked bills, snail mailed to my home address in a long, small white envelope with your home address clearly, legibly handwritten on the envelope in the return area. Next, I want you to remove all of the pages on the website known as the Quickie that have originally came from you, that you have started. Also, as well as all contributions you have to any other pages as well. And lastly, from this point, after you have done these things, I would like you, Dawn of Michigan, to leave me, my life, my family, my friends alone to be, for the rest of our lives, in peace. I leave that up to you, Sir Chatito. Expect another video in the near future of another troll that I am well aware of. Thank you.
While Bob returned home, he eventually went back to the hospital in early September 2011. Here he was put into quarantine due to his body being covered in bug bites and posed a contamination risk, possibly stemming from the hoarding in the house. Eventually, Bob died at the age of 84. Out of respect for Bob's death, the Quickie that was the home of most of Christine's detractors was closed down for a week, and any visitors there would be directed to a page that simply read Robert Franklin Chandler Jr., 1927 to 2011. In the following days, Barbara and Christine wrote Bob's obituary that was published in 2 of the local newspapers. In it, they were asking readers to not donate flowers, but instead donate money to Barbara and Christine as a sign of support, despite Bob having left them an enormous sum of money. During this time, the trolls took a step back, respecting Christine and Bob's wishes to be left alone. Some trolls even came across audio of Christine crying due to her father's death, yet chose to delete it out of respect. During this time, people on the Quickie forums who needed to scratch that itch that only ridiculing lolcows could sate, started to discuss trolling and documenting other lolcows. From this, the various members of the Quickie forums and its moderator Null decided to make the now infamous Kiwi Farms and named it as such as it was a spoof of Christine's typically slurred pronunciation of Quickie forums. However, the quiet would not last, as on the 28th of October 2011, Christine and Bob got arrested and faced multiple charges of hit and run, misdemeanor assault, trespassing, and attacking a law official. Christine had been meaning to take pictures of the owner of the game place, an area she had been banned from, Michael Snyder, in the parking lot, as she intended to use it as a target to shoot at with her toy guns. Michael Snyder did not appreciate this, and when he tried to confront Bob and Christine about this, they allegedly hit Michael with their car. If the charges are anything to go by, they also failed to stop after this collision, and upon being pulled over by the cops, Barbara apparently attacked the police officer. On the 4th of November, after having been bailed out of jail, Christine uploaded the pictures she had taken of Michael Snyder and taunted Snyder for his obesity and claimed Snyder molested children. On July 10th, Christine and Barbara showed up in court. Michael Snyder wished to settle with a plea bargain, as he did not want Christine and Barbara to be stuck with felony charges. Thus, the felony charge were reduced to misdemeanors. They still had to pay for Michael's hospital bill, to which Christine stated, "I don't think that thieving, bribing liar deserves a red cent." She also claimed that Michael was a greedy pedophile Jew on her website. Prior to Bob's death, Christine had been taking measures to slowly start transitioning into a girl. She would start calling herself a tom girl, let her hair grow out, and even eventually started doing her nails and wear makeup. This had been very upsetting for both of her parents, who did not support Christine's transition into a trans woman. Especially Barbara had strongly opposed to Christine's transition and would throw insults at Christine repeatedly. She had even successfully chopped off some of Christine's hair in a failed attempt to stop her from dressing like a girl. It should be stated Bob, before he passed away, told Chris he accepted Christine for who she was. Barbara, however, remained opposed to it all, and Christine legally had to get her name changed to Christine behind her mother's back. For most onlookers, this didn't come as a shock, as the signs of Christine's gender dysphoria had been apparent in a multitude of emails, comic strips, and video logs. It even takes just a cursory glance at her video archive to see how almost all males she'd come by has earned the ire of her, and thus it wasn't a big shock to most when she came out as a trans woman lesbian and got accepted into the LGBTQ+ community. Here, Christine was once again welcomed into a community with open arms, this time being the LGBTQ+ community. Here she was accepted for who she was and seemed to find a sort of camaraderie amongst her peers. However, Christine once more showed her insistence of being part of a community, yet still be unique within it. As of such, it didn't take long for her to start pointing her fingers at other trans people, such as the YouTuber Ahuvia, referring to them by their dead names and saying they weren't true trans, but instead various slurs.
And also my associate that gave me the information on him, he pretty much just pointed out calling him a tom girl, but you know what? He's not a tom girl at all. He's just a full-blown gay. Anyway, get back on the topic. His name is Ahuvia, which it is spelled in the title of this video. He is in Pennsylvania, and I have pretty much just gave a few descriptions of him. Yeah, he definitely appreciates his homosexual culture as it is. I mean, yeah, everybody who is a homophobe, go ahead and call him on it. Call Ahuvia a goddamn homo. Homo. I'm a homo. You can't get her. Blah 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 blah. Yeah.
In fact, there would be several occasions where Christine would insist on not referring to anyone by their preferred pronouns, and even not agree that they were the gender they preferred to be, not realizing the hypocrisy in wishing to be referred to as a woman while refusing to give others the same courtesy.
But anyway, this Jeff Ouzo, or as she prefers to be called, Francine, from the state of Washington. She did not feel safe in Pittsburgh, and she's not transitioning very well either. So she claimed to be a trans woman. Here's the deal, Francine. You cut me in on it, on about half of what you have made from my name and my imagery and whatnot, or otherwise, shut your online store down. Shut it down. Because I have all the details about you, pretty lady man.
After Bob's death and the following lawsuit, Christine and Barbara tried to return to their previous lives. Christine returned to her hunt for a partner and was insistent on losing her virginity. Eventually, her friend offered her a selection of prostitutes to take her virginity. Chris took her up on the offer and went to one of them and described in graphic details her sexual experiences with the prostitute. A cursory glance at this story and what Christine chose to focus on highlighted Christine's alleged Oedipus complex, as she kept highlighting how her partner was a mother and would constantly make references to this. This was an interesting revelation, as Christine had many times earlier and would continue to later exhibit signs of Oedipus behavior and an interest in incest, such as making her imaginary sister in her comic, where she would constantly be highlighted for her desirability and attractiveness. She would furthermore be made into a custom Yu-Gi-Oh card where she'd be addressed as a girlfriend. She would also several times make mentions of her having dreams of having sex with her mother, but never acting upon them, and in several videos we can see her complimenting her mom in very much the same way she would flirt with girls.
Yeah, just a little something there. What are you going to take pictures of? Just you. Oh. Because I love you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, are we having fun today? Are we having fun right now? Okay. You know you're very pretty. You're always pretty.
Onlookers had also commented on her being very touchy-feely with her mother. Besides finally losing her virginity, Christine was once again quick to earn the ire of the internet due to the legal escapades she had found herself in. For whatever reason, Christine had turned paranoid and believed the trolls had strengthened their efforts into getting her. As of such, she demanded her friends to keep an eye out on any troll behavior, and when failing to respond immediately, she would lambaste them and call them names. Christine started berating everyone in her friend group, alienating all her friends who were trying to help her. Even when they were trying to warn her about some of the people on her friend list being trolls, Christine would just turn a deaf ear. These self-same friends would try and help Christine and Barbara to encourage them to start working to make ends meet, as Bob was no longer alive to provide for them. However, Barbara and Christine was more inclined to selling things rather than actually working. This would be everything from Christine's porn collection to various important items that used to belong to Bob, which he had wished for Christine to inherit. And then, in 2014, further tragedy struck.
Greene County investigators are looking into the cause of a house fire early this morning. It started at about 3 o'clock this morning at a home on Branchland Court. That's in the southern part of the county. We're told the fire started in a first-floor bathroom, but got quickly out of control and eventually shot through the roof. Everybody inside was able to get out safely, but one firefighter suffered minor injuries. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
On an early January morning, the Charlottesville Fire Department was alerted to a fire breaking out at 14 Branchland Court, Christine's house. The fire department was alerted about the fire 2:45 in the night and battled with the fire for hours. There's no official word as to how the fire started, but an anonymous insider speculated that the fire originated from an extension cord in the Chandler household that had gone into the bathroom. The coating had been worn away by the door scraping over it over time by being opened and closed over and over. The extension cord went to a Keurig coffee maker, and it is speculated that the reasoning for it being placed so close to the bathroom was due to Barbara's hoarding. In Christine's second tour of their home, coffee cups are spotted around the bathroom sink, and it is believed that this kitchen had become the household's main source of water. It is alleged that one of the reasons the firefighters were unable to contain the fire and save the house was due to Barbara's hoarding that had made the house a powder keg of flammable objects, and the hoarding had grown so wildly out of control that the firefighters couldn't enter the home through either of the doors nor navigate through the house after entering through a window. The same day, Christine wrote on Facebook and accused Keurig of being the ones guilty of their house burning down, failing to realize it was her mom's hoarding that had made the fire possible in the first place. The next day, Christine took to social medias to ask for donations. She also complained that none of her previous gal pals had reached out to help, claiming this was due to them lacking a heart and soul, refusing to believe it was simply due to them having a life of their own that needed attending to. Later the same month, a group of Christine's fans, spearheaded by the Quickie administrator Null, sent Christine and Barbara a care package, including toiletries, cleanliness products, cat food, and art supplies. Lastly, the package included gift cards and a money order for Barbara, as well as a letter that wished Christine all the best and wished to remind her that her friends were there to help her. This kind gesture was immediately dunked on by Christine, who claimed there was an error with the money order and wrote, "Hey Dodo Brain, thanks a lump. You did not sign the front of the money order that came in the big box. The bank is unable to do anything with it. Contact your bank or make out a new thing and US mail it to our home address." Even though all the money orders came pre-signed and thus worked just fine. This was one of the first prominent examples of Christine's greed that would start to become more and more prominent. It would seem she had gotten the idea that her fans were a money printer and would thus request various things from her community, most of which being Lego figures. Christine would also create an eBay account where she'd post various items that used to belong to Bob and obviously had great sentimental value, such as his vintage model airplanes and his violin. Christine would go on to say how these were being sold because her and Barbara needed money, but would in the same breath mention her need for expensive Lego sets. Several of Christine's friends called her out on this, believing she was just selling Bob's possessions to buy Lego figures. She would even go to sell Bob's appearances on the radio on CD despite having provided the same audio as a downloadable file for free online earlier, and then claimed everyone using that link was pirating the content. When the radio station found this out, they addressed publicly that this was an illegal practice and they would be dealing with it. It cannot be stressed enough how often this would happen. As time went by, Christine would start selling more and more personal items, such as her coin collection and car, to her stamp collection that she had started together with her dad that even contained a personal message from Bob. As the Chandler household started to run out of stuff to sell, Christine would take to try and sell her creative endeavors, such as custom-made medallions, Sonichu drawings, and even custom-made amiibo figures. The amiibo figures especially became a huge interest for Christine, but as many people noted, her pricing was such that the profit she'd see from each custom-made figure would only be around $14, and that was before deducting what eBay took for selling them on the platform. It also didn't help that Christine wasn't making them by commission, but making them in bulks, hoping people would buy them, thus ending with an overabundance of various model figures. She would time and time again state how the money were going to rent, medical bills and more, but no one was fooled as her collection of Legos, animes and amiibo figurines in her videos grew larger and larger, and she would even boast about her new acquisitions online. She would sometimes claim it was sent by a fan, but people were quick to realize that no one had sent it and people had seen her purchase it herself. Christine also quickly showed she wasn't the best at selling stuff online. At one point she had accidentally mishandled the buyer's private information, leading to the buyer being doxxed. When the buyer voiced his complaint about this to Christine and eBay due to having been harassed by trolls, Christine took to make the buyer's medallion that was already long overdue in a special way. She made the Sonichu face on the medallion angry, purposely sabotaging the medallion because the buyer had gotten angry with her. As Christine many times had done before, she apologized once she started getting into trouble. Not because she was sorry for what she had done, but because she wanted the fallout of her actions to go away.
To Mr. Smith, I'm very sorry about sending you the medallion with the angry face, and I should just treat you like the other customers and give you the original face in the first place. Well, you did get that, the second one, and I apologize for drawing with the want of dropping a bucket of ice on your head, because you sent my finances down the drain there like a sinking ship. Anyway, yeah, I'm very sorry. I'm hurting. It hurts. Everything hurts. A lot hurts. Goddamn stress of life.
Me. When the amiibos and arts and crafts failed to take off as successfully as the Chandler family had hoped, possibly due to Christine spending it on toy and figurines and Barbara buying new pets and restarting her hoarding all over, Christine took to begging for donations online. At first, people were glad to donate as Christine hadn't very often asked for things as desperately as she did now. However, as Christine continued to buy more toys for the donations and her requests would become more frequent, the amount of donation would slowly start to dwindle.
Yeah, we need some more money, seriously. Donations, please. I mean, yeah, call it part of the donation drive, if you will, but push comes to shove. Something definitely came up recently beyond my control, and I just need I just need a few donations, please. Please help. I'll put the link underneath this video, but please. Send me a donation, like, you know, maybe 10, 20 bucks. Please. So anyway, got a bit of a situation here going on at home. But y'all do know that I'm still recovering from all the past hatred and abuse I had to put up with. Okay, that's a bit better distracting. I mute the television. But anyway, so yeah, got some financial problems coming up and about right now. So, I mean, y'all don't have to buy anything. Donations, with every person being able to donate at least $1, y'all can help me and my mother find a piece of home and be able to help take care of our expenses and everything. And I'm still getting back into the groove of putting everything together, working on a daily basis, and definitely working on putting myself on a day schedule. Second half of the month, we need some more donations around here to help out. But essentially, aside from that, I just want to remind everybody of the donations levels. We received a good number of donations, but we could still do better. But anyway, if you don't feel like buying a big thing, you can donate as little as $1. But here are the donation levels once again, where you would get a gift I would personally put together for you. Update on the donations. Apparently, there was a temporary block on the my PayPal account, but I have resolved that, cleared that up, so everybody can donate once again safely and well. So please get to that right away if you haven't been able to do that the past day or two. Are real great help. So please donate as much as you can, even if it's a $20, $50 American. Anybody, please donate. We need the money right now. Every little bit helps. And if you can donate big, that would be really greatly appreciated. Very much. Also, if you do find difficulty in donating through PayPal, I will allow for you to send me a certified bank check through the U.S. mail to my home address. Listing of donations, a donation page that'll be listed below this video, and donate as much as you can. Right, donations. You can help donate to me by clicking the support button here on the YouTube channel, or you can directly send me money through PayPal to my phone number. It didn't help that Christine started to sound incredibly insincere when asking for help, to the point where she set minimum amounts that people could donate and would kind of just jam the fact she wanted money into the end and beginning of most videos. And not in the way that, say,
I would do it in my Patreon thing, but her tone would start to change, as if she was owed this money simply for being her. It sure wasn't for making Sonichu, as that work had more or less halted as Christine was too busy playing with her amiibos and trying to build up a business empire where she'd have a corner office and an attractive secretary.
I would also need employees under me to assist with the administrative and creative sides of my Sonichu project. But we will get to those later. Due to my hectic lifestyle, I would need the ability to work from home and when I choose. Also, basic benefits like 401k, health insurance, and maternity leave. Now, let's get down to my immediate step. Due to the normal stresses of everyday life and then some, and since Sonichu is not my only responsibility in my life, I require a secretary to handle administrative duties beneath my pay grade, and a personal assistant who would assist me with my daily tasks, which would typically include the following: running errands, picking up lunch, breakfast, dinner, pet sitting my dogs when I'm on business travel, getting maintenance on the cars and whatever else required therein, help on taking care of my aging mother, as well as complete in-store pickup of items that I would purchase. I would want to be in charge of selecting the women for these positions myself. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Sonichu and the Sonichu media.
Sometimes Christine would completely neglect the thin veil of hiding what her true intentions were and set up GoFundMes and Kickstarter campaigns for up to $5,000 to make Lego creations, such as her own rendition of the Quick Will shopping mart. Whenever her birthday would come around, she'd even try and trick her trolls by saying, "Hey, buy me this thing and then maybe I'll forgive you for what you've done against me." Christine's greed and her sense of entitlement was beginning to spin out of control. The sense that things were owed to her, probably stemming all the way back from when she won the Sonic contest as a child, and the pampering by her parents, was on full display.
He's wearing two sets of glasses and fake breasts. His name is supposed to be Weston Chandler.
One of the most infamous events including Christine is easily when she started flipping out about Sonic's portrayal in the series Sonic Boom. In this, the creators had chosen to depict Sonic with blue arms instead of his typical tan-colored portrayal. Christine, possibly due to her autism, did not appreciate this one bit and would start a serious campaign to fight the powers that be that had decided to make Sonic's arms blue. Due to a misunderstanding of how the video game industry worked, her first target for harassment was GameStop. Here she'd make posts about how GameStop's employees needed to be bullied and even killed for this transgression. Egged on by her community, she started to make an increased effort to rally people to boycott GameStop unless they agreed to withdraw all their copies of Sonic Boom from store shelves. She further asked that everyone boycotted the game and TV show altogether and actively demanded there to be riot in the streets until Sega fixed the design. She also messaged Sega so many times and left so many comments that she was blocked from the site. It cannot be overstated how furious and adamant Christine was in this. In a post she shared publicly on Facebook, she wrote, "No, we need to kill Sega into recalling everything now, even if we have to do something like put knives and bombs to their throats. And we must make all the stores send all things Sonic Boom back to Sega in the name of recall, and force Cartoon Network to pull the show, and force Sega to fix the arms in every freaking episode there as well now." When fighting on the internet didn't work, Christine would take to the different stores, such as Target, where she'd get into heated arguments with the employees and security of the store, and chalking it up as sensory overload. After this event, she'd tell all her followers to go to the same store and encourage them to send back the games, and then proceed to do the same to, well, every other store in the world. The real battle, however, wouldn't be started until December the 26th in Charlottesville Fashion Square. Here, Barbara and Christine would go and eventually split up. While Barbara was eating lunch, Christine decided to go to the GameStop she'd initially been banned from for vandalizing Sonic Boom displays. Here, witnesses testified that Christine had been confronted by one of the store's employees who told Christine to leave as she had been banned from the store. When Christine refused to leave, the employees eventually went to call for security. That's when the now infamous clip was recorded.
Don't call anybody.
And that was the bar too.
Following this, Christine was arrested and taken to jail. Later on December the 29th, Christine was formally charged with a Class 6 felony. She posted a $2,500 bail and returned home to post about what had transpired on Facebook. Here, she was very adamant that she had done nothing wrong and that her acting out was solely Sega's fault, and that they were to blame for what transpired, and claimed that she was in fact the victim in all of this. She claimed that due to what transpired, now they could sue Sega for making it so it all happened. When people were not agreeing with Christine's stance, she replied in a very upset manner, saying such as, "You are being unfriendly to me and a meanie. I hope your house burns down with you and your jerk boyfriend in it. Good day." She would furthermore go on to accuse the person she pepper sprayed for working in the Best Buy at Charlottesville that she'd been banned from. This just went to highlight Christine's delusion of grandeur, that no one existed on their own, but all existed merely to torment her. She would also try and blackmail this person, believing working there could get the person fired.
Dear Yellow Shirt Assistant Manager of the Fashion Square GameStop. I never got your name, I'm sorry. To preface this letter, I most humbly apologize for everything I have done as of the release date of the Sonic Boom video games, around November 11th, 2014. In regards to the protest of Sega changing Sonic the Hedgehog's arm color to blue from tan, I will be most appreciative of not being forced to waste gas money to go out of town and most distance as far as the one GameStop within the U.S. military housing of Fort Lee, here in Virginia. Fort Lee. Not only will I be most appreciative, but I will bring good karma to you and all the other employees of your GameStop and the other 3 GameStops as well. And we can all be forgiven and forget the whole mess and good strides of the future. Everyone wins. But if I am left banned, then everyone loses. With the most heavy, symbolic hippopotamus of guilt, shame, and loathing upon yourselves, because not only are you most discriminating against one person, but a high-functioning, autistic, lesbian, trans woman, famous author, with headache-inducing mental handicaps, who would never intentionally or unintentionally harm any living thing without any reason whatsoever. Again, everyone loses if I am left banned from everywhere. And speaking of yellow-shirted friend, I believe you either have a secret family within or are moonlighting at the Best Buy in Charlottesville as well. To make that story short, a few days after I got out of jail on December 28, 2014, and I had absolutely no pepper spray on my person whatsoever, because as I had mentioned earlier, I had emptied the canister and disposed of the canister. I had done nothing at the Best Buy prior to that day, and a certain manager spooks the living crap out of me, telling me I was not welcome there, that I was banned from there. I had asked why. He did not give me any answer. Then I reached into my bed to get some money out, little funds, to see if I could pay my way out of this. I had not said anything about the pepper spray whatsoever. I put my hand in the bag, and his subordinate shouts, "He's going for the pepper spray!"
I stopped in surprise after hearing that. Ultimately, I left the store. I had gone there again months later to be met with the same spiel and no answer to why. I even went over their head on the telephone to try to resolve it. Nothing. Then last Tuesday, November 10th, I went there once again to buy Lego Dimensions pack with a $10 certificate. I got met in the back of the store with the spiel once again, and this time I asked why, and I finally got the answer. They said that I, quote, threatened them with pepper spray, and we have video footage, unquote. But again, that first time they said anything about me not being welcome there, I had not, nor ever threatened anyone at that store, nor had I any pepper spray on any of my visits there, then, and prior. Therefore, I feel I have to pin the blame onto you, sir, for that, my yellow-shirted friend. Either of having family there or giving me more of a difficult time, than I was already going under, or you do have a second job between the GameStop and the Best Buy. And I would expect that might be something the Better Business Bureau might like to hear, perhaps. So once again, you can give everyone good karma by forgiving me and forgetting the whole mess and unbanning me from these 4 GameStops as well as the one Best Buy, and thus allow me to be welcomed back to Fashion Square Mall as well. Everyone wins, but peace of mind. Or leave me banned from everywhere, and nobody wins with the hippopotamus weights upon each of our heads forever.
Following this event, more people started paying attention to Christine, people who had no idea who she was before the event took place. When people criticized her for attacking the GameStop employee and for entering a store she was banned from with what was considered a weapon in her state, Christine did what she always does and used her autism as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Christine had long since realized that people would let a mother go if she simply stated that she was autistic, due to the stigma that would follow openly criticizing someone autistic. Christine had at this point in time perfected the usage of her autism as both a shield and as a weapon. When she did something good, it was despite of her autism. When she was being made fun of for her autism, she had downplayed the effect that the autism had on her. When she didn't get her way, she claimed it was because people were discriminating her because of her autism, and when she was criticized for her behavior, she'd blame it all on her autism. It didn't stop here, however, as Christine would proceed to send Sega a glitter bomb, although she forgot that there had to be something that makes the glitter kind of come out. So instead, Sega just received an envelope full of glitter. Yet the intent was the same. She also included a ransom note of sorts, stating that for every week Sonic's arms remained blue, she'd send another glitter bomb. Eventually, some trolls sent a letter to Christine impersonating the manager of loss prevention of GameStop, saying that as following of her actions, she was now banned from all GameStops in the state of Virginia. Christine, predictably, said that they had misunderstood what she had meant with her email she had sent them earlier, in which she has, as mentioned before, blackmailed one of the employees of the store and claimed that any further ban of her would be labeled as an attack on the trans, lesbian, and autistic community, and that she'd make sure everyone knew about it.
Good evening, fans. Apparently we finally have received a response from GameStop. But I just would like to go on record that if it turns out that if this letter was not real, turned out to be a prank from somebody in the mailroom of GameStop, possibly at the very least, then you need to tell me directly and what the deal is, because certainly being tired of being ignored. And essentially the list has me banned from statewide. Everywhere in Virginia, all the GameStops in Virginia, essentially. Which, that just really pissed me off.
really pisses me off. But I did not mean anything threatening in my letter. Their interpretation was quite off. And we need to step it up. Everybody, go to your local GameStops and bring up a sign of your own. And write on that, quote unquote, GameStop. Bloody unfair to autistic people and lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transsexuals, and queer people. This will certainly be forwarded to the Human Rights Campaign, Autism Awareness, and the Better Business Bureau, among all places. Oh, and just to note, to take this to counter their attack, I have found and learned of a few other flaws in their plan, of which I am to quote, I have them written down, among which...
Following this perceived ban, Christine went on to calmly switch to a different store, and I am obviously kidding. She rallied all of her followers to stop shopping at GameStop altogether and to bombard them with messages about being bigoted and transphobic. She furthermore made up accusations that GameStop purposely destroyed every game they could no longer sell to rally the fans of retro games. She even went as far as to mention other alternatives to GameStop that were both cheaper and had a bigger selection, yet failed to realize the irony that she too could just choose to shop there instead of GameStop herself.
Amiibo figures. Guess what? There's still Toys R Us. There's still Walmart. There's still Target. And guess what? $10 a piece or so for the Sonics and the Pikachu, among which there is eBay and Amazon. So, I am not haltered on my own creations, and henceforth, so the orders on Etsy will continue to be honored, very much so.
While all of this was going on, Christine was growing more and more blatant in her display of entitlement as she would use her own holiday video to ask for donations. She would keep saying she wanted a bunch of money too, asking for big donations, and follow it up by saying the same mantra she had been saying ever since their house burned down, that it was for bills and medical stuff. She had, however, earlier admitted to pocketing almost 50% of the donations for herself, and the rest went to Barbara and the bills. She had, however, learned to now hide it a little by saying people had asked what to send her for Christmas.
As under advisement, I'm making the suggestions of what y'all can do for me for gifts. I'll look into it. I'll make a short wish list on Amazon.com, but I also accept gift cards to, well, let's say for Walmart, Target, Food Lion, Toys R Us would be okay. Family Dollar, PetSmart, whatever. Anyway, we're okay. But cash should be greatly appreciated. I'll remind everybody of the donation listing on my shop on Etsy. I'll put a link under this video. So hopefully I'll get another big donation this time around, because I sure could, among which, use that money to help pay the bills around here. Plus also, yeah, I do have a court cost to pay after the incident near the end of last year, but that's a whole different story anyway.
When Christine's birthday came around, she had also stressed her displeasure that no one had sent her a PlayStation 4, even more so that it wasn't the limited edition white one with Destiny. In this video we see Christine using a manipulative tactic often used in kids. There's something she wanted, she didn't get it, so now she's going on about how terrible her life is, painting it in a way to make it seem like getting the things she wanted would somehow fix it. It should also be stated that she's saying this in front of tons of different toys with an expensive PS Vita front and center in the video while talking about this.
Alright, and I certainly did not receive a PlayStation 4 console, even much less the white one with the Destiny game and all that. But still, we move forward, so,
As Christine started running out of special holidays where people were no longer interested in buying her crafts, when people had been dissuaded from using her Etsy and eBay store due to how unprofessionally she acted, and when people had stopped requesting custom cameo videos from Christine because she always failed to deliver them on time, Christine had one final option to do, besides getting a job obviously. On the 14th of June 2016, Christine uploaded a new video pleading for donations. In it, Barbara could be seen in a very frail state, and Christine said the urgent need for money was for asthma medicine for Barbara.
Hello, this is Christine Chandler coming to you live from home. Anyway, my mom here is in need of medications for her lungs and whatnot. Alright? Yeah. At least say something, let them know you are alive. Well, anyway, it's $100 medication, and she might not be able to make it through the rest of this month, of which we get more money afterwards if you don't donate. So please send your donations that could get to me most direct to my email address through PayPal. Please do it very soon. Help us out here, please. Thank you.
A concerned viewer called the Rogersville Police Department and requested a welfare check on Barbara. The officer then reported back to the viewer stating that everything was fine and that Barbara was doing as good as always, proving that the video was fake and that Christine was lying through her teeth. Later the same day, a viewer texted Christine and scolded her for wasting so much money on toys 2 weeks earlier, where it was clear they didn't have any money for important stuff like medicine. Predictably, Christine opted to not agree with the viewer or actually sell or return any of the toys, but instead deflected it by saying, "In my defense, the troll should not have been able to view anything I do on eBay." This would however not be the last time Christine would use her own mother to coerce money from her viewers. In April 2017, she would upload a video called Emergency Home Update, in which she has her mom beg for money on her behalf, claiming that if they can't sell Christine's stamp collection for over $1,000, they will lose power to the home.
Action. My name is Barbara Chandler. We are in an emergency situation. Rappahannock is getting ready to cut our service. That will stop us from doing anything. Cooking, whatever. Please, somebody, buy the stamp album for $1,000 to help us with our emergency. Thank you.
1 week prior, Christine had managed to sell one of her old creations from middle school, dubbed the Sonichu, for $1,500, and had within a week burned through all that money by spending more than $750 on Skylander figures, $400 on gold necklaces for Barbara, you know, the one she's wearing in the same video she's begging for money, and the rest went to credit card debt and food. Barbara would however find the money by taking out money from Christine's life insurance, a thing she had done before in 2014, 3 years earlier. All this time, neither Barbara nor Christine were willing to get a job. Christine would however start up a Patreon in which she used stolen fan art as the banner and claimed it wasn't stolen because she owned the character anyway. In later posts, Christine would comment on tweets about the difficulty of caring for a family member with mobility issues resulting from Alzheimer's. Here she'd air her grievances with Barbara, saying how all the selling of different things were Barbara's idea, and that whenever Christine sold something of her own, she'd demand to get some of the money. Whether this is true or not, we don't know, as Christine at this point in time had proven herself a pathologic liar.
Hello to all my Lucky Lady fans. Yes, I just got out of the shower and I feel clean again.
Well, it gets lonely around here in my bedroom. I feel like I might want to date some of y'all. Maybe we get to know each other, you know? Have a pleasant dinner, or just enjoy a conversation over a cup of coffee. See where things go, see how we feel around each other. Yeah, maybe I'll eventually find my sweetheart amongst y'all.
Despite the ongoings in Christine's life, she found herself happy with her newfound freedom of being a trans lesbian. She'd often go to various bars and clubs for drag queens and like-minded people, and people who would catch glimpses of Christine there would comment that she'd never looked happier, and was even seeming to engage with strangers and be very outgoing, and even loved by the people there. She was still rather awkward, but the people didn't seem to care. This new outgoing persona seemed to carry over to the life outside of the nightlife, where Christine would generously tip literally every performer despite seemingly being in money trouble. Outside the clubs and bars, Christine would become more outgoing and flirtier with various different girls whom she crossed paths with, even going so far as to be flirty with lawyers when going into her court dates. Christine had found herself, and it really seemed like Christine was finally happy with who she was, rather than worrying about what she wasn't. Unfortunately, she would give people who speculated that she only transitioned to have a better chance with women a reason for worrying this, when she would announce a lesbian sleepover party. Initially advertised as a party where girls of every sexual orientation were welcome to come and have fun, it was very quickly found out this was but a thinly disguised plan by Christine to try and get laid with the guests. A troll pretending to be a male to female transgender person texted Christine interested in attending the party, to which Christine declined because she didn't consider the person a female. It didn't take a genius to see what was going on. Christine didn't want anyone with a penis to attend, because that wouldn't be someone she could have sex with, as she herself is disgusted with penises, showing how, when you boiled it all down, this was just another thing done for Christine and not for the community that took her in. Christine had also not forgotten about her desperate wish for having children. This became apparent when a lesbian couple, presumed to be trolls, reached out to Christine asking for her to be the sperm donor for them to get pregnant. Christine gladly accepted and showed a video of her stockpiling her frozen semen in the family's fridge. Just right in there next to the frozen pizza, huh? It should also be stated that kept at that freezer temperature would render the semen useless. When the couple, however, decided that they would rather go with the alleged gay porn star Johan, Christine wanted it to be put to a vote. Here she wanted people to vote who should be the sperm donor for the couple based on votes on each participant's sex moves.
Hello everyone, Weston Chandler coming to you live again from home. And right now it's time to do the thing. Johan has uploaded his video, and mine's up as well. The link to the voting page is right underneath here. Likes and dislikes under each video will not be counted. And the voting tally, gone for like about up to a week or so. It'll be determined when the page is taken down. So, votes only, one or the other. Do you want to risk giving my lesbian friends the STD that he has? Or is it better off being me? I feel like it's better being me, because I'm honest, at the very least. And I'm direct. But anyway, he's the bully. He bullied me in the chat room, was very rude indeed. You saw me as I anticipated with the minifigures. So, vote now.
And of course, Christine went on to show off these sex moves on a blow-up doll. It'd be easy to just focus on commenting on Christine having sex with her blow-up doll live on cam again, after having had a similar video leaked online, but instead I like to focus on something else. It's easy to dismiss this because we know they're trolls, and so there's not anyone really getting hurt, because it's all in this little stage play directed by the trolls. This may be one of the reasons why Christine's actions haven't been further scrutinized than they have been, But it's important to know that we know this. Christine didn't. So Christine fully believed and intended to using her online popularity to get a leg up in a contest on who would get to inseminate a lesbian couple, and by displaying sex moves as the deciding factor, it is clear she wasn't willing to just give them her sperm. No, she wanted to do the actual insemination. The thing about Christine is that she's manipulative. She's, thankfully though, not very good at it. It also just went on to show how Christine's mind worked. To her, it's all about what the most people think. At no point did she stop to consider that this was this fictitious couple's decision to choose whom they wanted to inseminate them. It was always going to be the most popular option because that's how Christine's brain works. Now, for what followed, I'm gonna ask the more squeamish of you to bear with me. Christine had for the longest time tried to convert her body into that of a female, complete with growing her breasts and even creating a vagina onto herself. Her breasts she would try to increase the size of by vibrating them, doing this by putting vibrating eggs into her bra and setting them on max setting. She would furthermore try and grow them by listening to subliminal beats while sleeping, believing these beats could turn her body more feminine, as well as claiming they had succeeded in curing her autism. The more drastic change, however, came when Christine figured that she had a vagina hidden behind the skin in her taint, and proceeded to cut her taint open with a knife. She would then go on to post pictures of the wound online, even going as far as to spreading the wound in one of them as if it was a vagina, welcoming all sorts of life-threatening infections. She would go on to Facebook and talk about how she'd been transitioning more and more into a girl using the subliminal audio, and would go on to explain how not only had her breast increased in size, but also began producing breast milk. As for the gash in her taint, she lied and claimed it had happened all on its own and was merely just a result of the audio therapy. The Quickie forums speculated that this could also have been a result of an infection caused by a taint piercing Christine had gotten earlier, and believed Christine could be in horrible medical need. As of such, various members of the forums tried to get a hold of both medical professionals and even sent begging pleas to Christine, asking her to please go see a doctor. Christine claimed she had, but when asked what the doctor had said, Christine replied saying that the doctor had said that her self-inflicted labia was coming in good and that it was normal looking. Obviously, no medical profession would ever say this, and it proved that Christine was actually not taking this as seriously as she should. When she saw the monumentous backlash she was getting from this, she proclaimed it was all a hoax, but would later continue to elaborate on how she was tending to her labia with rubbing alcohol. In a later interview, she would admit that this has all been a very bad idea.
Now, can we get an update on your man clip?
Please, no comment.
No comment? You made several comments on your public Facebook page?
Yeah, that was impulsive, and some of that was brought on by an ex-girlfriend of mine of recent. Yeah, but she left me out of the dishonesty therein, but anyway, I'm still transitioning. Let's just leave it at that.
So you believe that the bloody hole in your taint is...
Oh, please, no comment.
Have you...
Everything's healed up, it's all good, I'm still alive. Let's just leave that, lay that down to rest.
Christine would, however, soon find herself in mainstream media once more, as when Trump was elected president, Christine wrote on her social media that she wanted someone to take a sniper rifle and assassinate Donald Trump. This post was eventually screenshotted and shared around online till it reached mass media publishers and people like Alex Jones and even the Grand Wizard of the KKK, who said stuff like this was enough to go rioting in the streets. The post was later deleted as it was theorized this could be a criminal offense, yet Christine had made her point clear that she didn't care much for Trump at all. She would go on to share her distaste further on her YouTube, where she'd upload a video of her attacking a transformer instead of Trump, And while this video was interesting enough on its own, it helped giving an inside view of Christine's new house that her and her mother had moved to after their home burned down.
Therefore, I hope you... Therefore, now you can feel the pain. I hope you feel this pain, because you're a mean one, Mr. Trump. Now go die! And die again! Die, Trump, die.
From what little we could see, this house was quickly starting to share the same fate as the old house, with massive hoarding and no cleaning, leaving stains and debris all over the floor, as well as full trash bags and old newspapers. It should also be stated that while Christine is jerking her body, kicking this Transformer figure, you can see the leg of her cat whom she's probably holding, and that's being jerked around with Christine's body as she's kicking the toy. On the 8th of May, Christine finally returned to working on Sonichu, a thing she hadn't touched for almost 2 years at this point, despite having been paid over $1,000 to return to it. Before this, she had many times held the comic hostage, saying that if she didn't receive donations, she wouldn't continue working on the comic, and had been in talks with people, trolls obviously, who were interested in making Sonichu into a franchise, where she'd been more than willing to be a CEO with a corner office and requested not only a personal assistant but also a secretary, both of whom had to be hot and female. Christine was now finally back hard at work on Sonichu and would often throw up live streams in which she was working on Sonichu. Here many people commented on her rather odd way of holding her pencil while working. And finally, at the end of June 2017, Christine finally finished volume 11 of Sonichu, 8 years after it had been started. Around this time, Christine had become infatuated with the online creator Doopy Doover. Doopy is a voice actress and an animator for the YouTube channel Planet Dolan, and is also doing art. Upon finding out that Doopy was doing art on Patreon, Christine quickly went on to pledge to a Patreon and got some art done. She would furthermore pledge to Doopy's alternative Patreon, where she would do not safe for work art, where she'd request art done of My Little Pony characters, which Christine had shown an interest in now. As time passed, Christine would start displaying more and more infatuation with Doopy on social media, to the point where Doopy had to shoot her down several times and eventually block her. When Christine was questioned about this, she would go on about how Doopy just wasn't a sweetheart yet. This was the straw that broke the camel's back, and Doopy unblocked Christine just to tell her off and never talk to her again. She furthermore went on to the Kiwi farms and leaked all of the private emails Christine had sent to her. Christine, not getting the hint, went on to make a sock puppet account called Nightstar2891 to use that to stalk Doopy and the Planet Dolan channel instead. Christine would later go on to use the sock puppet account several times to hype herself up and side with herself in various online arguments. However, due to Christine's unique way of phrasing and writing, it was quickly found out it was her using the account.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and count us down. 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Internet Dream Lounge. I'm your host, Arm Merriweather, and with me, as always, my co-host, ECK.
What's up, guys?
And on this week's show, we have the honor of presenting to our dear viewers the eternal hero of love, the defender of autism, and the god emperor of quick will, the creator of Sonichu, Christine Weston Chandler.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Thank you for joining us, Chris.
Later, the online creator, R. Merriweather, whose comic we've already covered on this channel, had an interview with Christine on the Internet Dream Lounge podcast. The interview was recorded but eventually scrapped. The interview has since been salvaged, however. The reason for the scrapping of the interview seemed to be a mixture of Mary believing that the interview was boring and that Christine would drone off on many long tangents, but also because of the harsh criticism from the Kiwi Farms that felt like Mary had only given Christine surface-level softball questions. They would then later move on to do a different interview. When asked why Christine would initially agree to joining the podcast, that at the time only had 1,200 followers, Mary first speculated it could have something to do with his massive Patreon following. Mary had also offered being Christine's social media manager in exchange for the interview. However, Mary would later, after having talked with Christine more, come to the conclusion that the main reason seemed to be that Christine was only interested in the interview because Mary knew Doopy, and Christine hoped to get back in contact with her through him. On the same Kiwi Farms thread that criticized the podcast interview of Christine, they also alleged that Mary had paid Christine a lot of money for the interview and shared a screenshot of Christine admitting as much. Mary could not comment on this, however, as he had been banned from the thread earlier due to getting into a heated argument with one of its users who made several scathing allegations against Mary. On the 7th of September 2017, Christine would start a relationship with Jessica Quinn, a girl who had been her friend on Facebook since 2015. Quinn had often been in the comments fighting against trolls and backing Christine up when the going got tough. During this, Christine implored the trolls to only harass her and not the people around her, a selfish act that one can ponder whether she did out of genuine concern or to appear heroic for her new sweetheart. Christine and Quinn would go on to post about their new relationship on Facebook, and Quinn would even mention how they were planning on meeting on the 6th of October. All was not peaceful in the relationship, however, as just 19 days later they would break up because Christine would not stop trying to get in contact with Doobie and being flirty with other girls. However, the breakup only lasted for 5 hours before they were back together again, and Christine swore that she no longer watched LazyCast, which featured Doopy. The 4th of October, 2 days before the two were set to meet, Christine made an account on Kiwi Farms, posting that she would take questions and answer them herself from her detractors. This led to, on the following day, Quinn's Facebook being deleted. In a private conversation between Quinn and Christine, Christine mentions how she'd asked Christine not to get in contact with the Kiwi Farms and stated that they were the reason why her Facebook was now deleted, because Quinn had to delete every trace of herself so the Kiwi Farms wouldn't affect her work or private life in general. Christine would follow this up by drowning her sorrows in ice cream, insisting that Quinn was missing out as Quinn had supposedly been very upfront with having a fat fetish, of which Christine would end up appealing to in her comic.
Welcome to another episode of the Internet Dream Lounge. I'm your host, Mary, and with me as always, my trusty ever faithful co-host, ECK. And on this show, we have the honor of presenting to our dear viewers the eternal hero of love, the defender of autism, and the god emperor of quick will, the creator of Sonichu, Christine Weston Chandler.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
So how are you today, Chris?
Later, the Internet Dream Lounge podcast would upload their revised interview with Christine. In it, Mary, leading the interview once again, inquires Christine about her comic and its world, and we get an interesting insight in the creation. The most interesting part of the interview is the revelation that Christine is adamant on talking as if the characters are real. Stuff such as she didn't make Sonichu, she was introduced to Sonichu by Sonichu. She also claimed to have psychic links with all of the characters.
Bit inspired with my sweetie, but definitely in history with Sonichu and Sonichu in the city of Quickville, because I have the links, I have the psychic links to my characters in the city. So yes. I get the direct streaming in my noggin. Don't call me crazy if you want to, but it's true, it's there, my psychic powers. But anyway, yeah, she had gone to the hospital, after breaking both her legs, she gained some weight, and after being surprised, Sonichu actually found a fascination in her squishy tummy. So she kept that up for a while.
Christine also made it very clear how the characters and situations were directly related to people in her real life who'd given her grief, and that the main villain of the comic was a representation of Christine's feeling of loneliness.
Yes, give or take, but really, the main antagonist is actually the embodiment of my loneliness, depressions, the one of which I have given a name based on one of my depressing life events, the infamous spiritual magician Count Graduan.
If there was ever any doubt this was not a story about Sonichu but rather Christine, it was now clear as day. Christine would later go on to have an interview with Coppercap, an online personality best known for his videos where he'd scream about gingers having souls. Christine would also go on to have an interview with the popular YouTuber Count Dankula. Much like the interview prior, Coppercap and his co-host Cameron and Count Dankula would address Christine friendly and respectfully, while showing a great deal of admiration and adoration for Christine. In turn, Christine seemed to be enjoying herself, having fun, and enjoying the limelight. It was around this time that Christine would be approached by the first of the 4 trolls that made up what has come to be known as the Idea Guys. The Idea Guys were a group of individuals who would use Christine's gullible and escapist nature to plant ideas in her head and extort and degrade Christine. Their actions were so heinous that a group of Kiwi Farm users, dubbed the Guard Dogs, would work together to try and stop the Idea Guys and make them face legal action. The Idea Guys were also the catalyst for the creation of what would infamously be known as the Dimensional Merge, and despite being stopped around 2018, the ideas they planted in Christine's head would still stick around. It was no secret that Christine was using Sonichu as a coping mechanism for real-world issues, and this reliance had long since taken its toll on Christine's psyche, believing more and more vividly that her creations were in fact real. It was evidenced as much in several of the interviews Christine had done, the phone calls with Alec, and even her dancing with Maggie-chan at the 2017 BronyCon. It was this part of Christine's psyche that the Idea Guys wished to target. It all started with the video game Hyperdimension Neptunia, a series of JRPGs that takes place in the world of game industry, which is divided into 4 regions, each representing a specific video game console. The Idea Guys would convince Christine that Neptunia was real to an extent, and that game industry in Quebecville were a real alternate universe that they could travel to and from. They'd make this convincing to Christine by poorly photoshopping news broadcasts and providing audio clips spliced together to make it sound like Quebecville was being attacked by the Russians. This was enough to convince Christine that this was all real, and the Idea Guys would continue to give Christine various ideas, including telling her that they had talked with Maggie-chan himself that had a vision that Crystal, Christine's fictional daughter, would be born from Christine having sex with Sonichu, and thus making Christine draw it to make it happen. Christine was also tricked into believing she would get magical powers. Null, the admin of the Quickie and now also Kiwi Farms, made a post in which he laid out the ongoings about what was going on. In it, he described Christine as having grown immune to the virus that were the trolls by simply not humoring or believing any of the trolls' advances, hence why there was a long period in which Christine was not being trolled or harassed as much as she had been previously. However, one person, one of the Idea Guys, Joshua Wise, would buy something from Christine and through that get in direct contact with her. Christine started demonstrating an unsettling behavior by drawing Nazi stuff, school shootings, and even drawing a pony named Cunty Nuggets. This had led Null to believing that someone was pulling the strings behind the scenes and proclaimed, "If we were to find someone blackmailing Chris, I will aggressively contact state and federal law enforcement to see to it that someone goes to prison for it. Stop taking my favorite tard who just wants to sit at home and play Legos and turning him into a fucking marionette for your bullshit power fantasies." According to Null, the Idea Guys, consisting of Joshua Wise, Stephen Boyd, someone from Canada, and one totally unknown person, had convinced Christine that Queequeg was in grave danger, and from that had Christine confessing to being a pedophile and raping her mother. After getting those confessions, they would threaten to release this information to the public if Christine didn't do what they told her to. This included taking a dump on the floor, punching herself in the face till tears and snot ran down of her chin, and even attack her own mother, which she claimed to have done, although lightly. They would also, well knowing of the Chandler household's financial troubles, extort Christine to send them more than $6,000 worth of various gaming items, such as codes for Steam, toys, and electronics. They would even threaten to destroy Queequeg, which Christine now believed to be 100% real, unless they received money, forcing Christine to withhold a mortgage payment to save the city, almost rendering her and Barbara homeless. Null had been informed of these ongoings by Christine's gal pal, Anna McLaren, who had not informed law enforcement to focus on her college finals. No one else in Christine's circle had contacted law either, and the sheriff's department also didn't want to do anything about it. At this point, Christine to them had become a constant source of drama that they didn't wish to be involved in. It wasn't until Null got in contact with the FBI that the ball got rolling. The Idea guys were subsequently stopped and were doxxed by Null, which Joshua tried to weasel his way out of to no success. But even though the Idea guys were no more, the damage on Christine was already great and permanent. The damage could be seen by Christine's delusions now spinning out of control. In 2017, Christine believed to have been possessed by a character from Hyperdimension Neptunia, Usume Tenobushi. Christine also now fully believed that there were alternate dimensions she could travel to, and every cartoon world had its own dimension, that Ted Bundy was part Sonichu and was framed, and that she and her late father were also part Sonichu. The Idea guys had effectively taken the one thing Christine still had, being her fictional work she could escape to, and attacked it. Christine had clung to this fictional world so long for stability that when someone encouraged the idea of it being real, she was jumping to it hook, line, and sinker. As deluded as Christine was, this is where she started changing her ways for the better. She was now adamant in continuing her work on Sonichu, and would even apologize that she hadn't been working on it for a while. She would apologize for, quote, ruining fandoms. She'd apologize to how she behaved to Alec, and when someone who had donated a big amount of money to Christine so she could go to a BronyCon was doxxed by members of the Kiwi Farms, she would try and lead them away from the person by posting a fake name and location on Facebook and Twitter. Christine also finally came out as not just a trans person, but also a bisexual, possibly encouraged by the promise of a relationship with a polyamorous couple. It was later revealed this polyamorous couple was her own creations, Crystal and Maggie-chan. This, however, did not stop her from getting kicked out from the convention Too Many Games in 2018 after inappropriately touching multiple attendees. Christine didn't act too well to all of this, and a cursory glance on her activities at the con would show she was having the time of her life. So when she was kicked out, she curled up into a ball and cried and refused to leave until the security came and got her.
I don't know. Ask, even send me, I'll come back. I know how to get them. You have to offer money.
As Christine was fully convinced about the multiple worlds theory that the Idea guys had implanted in her head, Null was trying to get her to see a therapist, but to no avail. Christine would also reach out to Shannon Maguire, a writer for Marvel Comics, where she'd ask questions concerning the different worlds taking place in Spider-Man. Shannon would go on to explain about the different worlds, not knowing that Christine thought it all to be real and not fiction. More people would encourage Christine to talk with a psychiatrist or therapist, but Christine vehemently disagreed that she was delusional and would do no such thing. This is also where she would start to refer to our world as Earth 1218, named as such by Shannon Maguire in their works. She would later dub the sister dimension where Sonichu and the others, as well as every cartoon character Christine had ever had an interest in, exist as Dimension C197. The 4th of October 2018, Christine admitted that the begging for money was a lie, simply just to collect money. She continued to blame this on Maggie-chan taking over Christine's body and doing it in her stead. The idea was planted, the stage was set, and it was now time for an announcement.
Hello everybody, this is Weston Chandler coming to you live from home once again. And we're going to talk about the recent, more obvious topic of the dimensional merge. Yes, this dimension right here, 1218, is going to be merged with our sister dimension, C197. Where most of our superheroes, supervillains, OCs, and what have you, and other characters have been existing and coexisting. Yep. Everybody who survives this will get to meet their favorite superheroes among others and everything. But yes, those are going to survive and those are not going to survive. But fortunately should be most of the Earth population, and those that I do care about are going to survive. But among which that won't survive is going to be some of the politicians. But aside from that, the decision is definitely supported by me, but also going to be made in part by your goddess of this earth. Yep. Parent of Jesus is a woman. Okay? Yep. Let's get that mind blower out of the way. Anyway, they're being supportive and all this and everything. I'm supporting them, and yep, the dimensions are gonna merge. And yada yada yada. Pardon me, my head's got the thing, psychic link, and I get the headaches now and then. Because I'm so integrated in all this. Because who knew I actually am destined. And with the ancient prophecy of C197, and everything that I am literally half Sonichu, and I soon will be able to transform into my Sonichu form. Be able to run at max speeds, thunder attacks, psychic attacks, everything.
On October the 26th, 2018, Christine uploaded a video announcing the dimensional merge. This was a concept that had been brainwashed into Christine's head by the idea guys. The dimensional merge served as the ultimate escapist fantasy that was going to rescue Christine from all of her self-inflicted life problems and live on as a child. In Christine's own words, she wholly believed that the two dimensions 1218 and C197 were going to merge into one, causing all of the fictional characters from one dimension to walk freely among the real people of our dimension. Christine believed she was going to be the goddess of this new world and predicted it to happen the 18th of November 2018, the 40th anniversary of the Jonestown mass suicide. This correlation between the two dates made it evident that this was a fabrication of a troll and not Christine. Still, Christine believed this merge was going to happen, that she was going to meet Stan Lee, who was going to come back, and even see her dad again because she was part Sonichu. When the merge didn't happen, no one was understandably more upset than Christine. Christine believed that the reason for the merge not happening was due to the character Afoir, an antagonist from the Neptunia series, interfering with the merge. Still, Christine continued to believe she was being possessed by Maggie-chan on various occasions, and would claim Maggie-chan was the one in control whenever Christine got caught doing something bad. After having fully believed she'd cured her autism with the subliminal audio therapy, she now needed a new scapegoat, and this came in the form of Maggie-chan. Like the one time Christine claimed one of her cats were dead, killed by the dog, and had posted a picture of it, it was then later found out the picture of the dead cat had just been lifted from a different website. Her behavior ended up getting her banned from many people in the My Little Pony fandom, which had been the most recent community for Christine to attach herself to. It was around this time that Jacob Sockness would enter the scene. Jacob had run the gambit from avid supporter and would end up becoming what's known as an A-log, a person who believes that Christine is deserving of whatever scorn and harm she's subject to. Sockness would prove to function almost as if written in fiction as a mirror of Christine, that Christine could see her own issues in and reflect on. They were both autistic, non-gender conforming, received monthly social security by the state, believed themselves to be gods, that they had magical powers, and that they had both made up elaborate universes in which Sonichu characters really existed. At first, Sockness was believed to fully believe in Sonichu and the dimensional merge. Despite thinking himself to be a god, Sockness clearly idolized Christine in some regard, spending a lot of money in buying items from Christine's eBay. Sockness and Christine established contact because Sockness wished to buy Christine's bathwater. After establishing contact, Sockness would open a vendor account on eBay for Christine, acting as a warehouse, clearinghouse, and middleman due to Christine having been banned from eBay prior. From there, Sockness would start to further enable Christine's belief of the alternate dimension and even got his character, Jacoba, featured in the Sonichu comic. Christine, however, didn't seem to know who Sockness was and how dangerous he seemed to be. In his own mythos, he is the prophet of the god of war and death, Jacoba, obviously a play on his first name Jacob. In an interview in 2018, he'd even say how several of his books contained rituals with graphical descriptions and that he would use these rituals to kill homeless people when he was bored. In the same interview, he mentions how he would rape Christine if his advances didn't work.
This is a hypothetical, but what if she rejects you or doesn't want to be friends back? How would you take that?
Well, I'll give her a couple months to figure it out for herself because I've been with people that are autistic all my life.
Yesterday we were talking about BronyCon and the ritual that the bad man wanted to do to Christine. Could you enlighten us on that?
Oh, you mean Jacoba wanted to rape Christine as some kind of demon seed child or whatever. That one?
Yes.
Oh, well, there was a plot that I didn't even know about until I was told. It was like, I heard about the plot, the parts with the spark of annihilation. I actually helped him find the spark of annihilation because I didn't know what he was going to do with it. I thought he was going to use the spark of annihilation to teleport me back home to my homeworld. So I helped him. My channel sources suddenly comes out with this big old news flash saying, oh, it's part of this grand scheme that we're going to make her to Jacoba and have this super child. When I was, I'm aware of a DNA integrate between Jacoba and these tardigrade aliens. I've actually killed dozens of homeless people via sending a demon out there to make them overdose. So probably 30, 40 people have died because of her. Directly, where I named them and told them, like, yes, demon, here's your marks. It's these people outside my building. Kill them. They are sacrifices for you, specifically for her.
How did you kill them?
The demon overdosed them. Every one of them overdosed. Every one of them was overdosed. Now, there's a bit of blood on it. There's a bit of blood. It's not, I don't consider it human blood because drug addicts, I don't consider it human at all. Because humans wouldn't do that. But when it comes to the spiritual shit, I've killed 2 Nephilim giants for her. Myself killed 2 Nephilim giants.
Is the law the only thing stopping you from hurting homeless people?
Pretty much, it is the law. It's the only thing stopping you from using it for food and resources. Leather, sinew, whatever. I don't consider them human. I consider them the Ebola. I think of them as the Ebola virus. I don't consider them any more human than the Ebola virus. There are cancer on our society, and if the law allowed it, I would use them as sinew and meat.
Sockness would also go on to forge a conversation between him and Maggie-chan on Reddit, asserting that the only way for the dimensional merge to take place is if he and Christine got married. Christine believed the conversation to be true through his sock puppet Maggie-chan account. Eventually, Sockness reported that he had bought train tickets to make the trip to visit Christine with the explicit intent of sex and violence. Christine, however, declined his visit and the two grew apart. However, Sockness was determined on staying a part of Christine's life and courting her, and would make numerous attempts on entering Christine's life again and again. Upon succeeding in this, he would try and make an effort to distance Christine from everyone who wanted the best for Christine, systematically harassing people and friends on social media. This, however, turned out to backfire as Christine realized that the list Sockness had made of people whom he believed to be enemies of the two, the list consisted mostly of Sockness' own enemies. Christine would end up breaking the entire thing off and cut tie with Sockness, making the first time Christine had personally prevented a romantic relationship from happening. Around this time, the COVID-19 pandemic is declared a national emergency. Christine believed this was partially due to the dimensional merge and displayed a rather juvenile attitude towards the virus. She believed that learning about all the symptoms and dangers of the virus would mentally tire you out, which would make you more likely to get infected with the virus. Instead, she suggested watching the anime Cells at Work to build one's resistance against the virus. She also mentioned how the My Little Pony characters were hard at work to stop the pandemic problems in our world. However, the pandemic proved to be too much for Christine's psyche, and she'd go on to state how Sonichu had now taken over her body, and her soul had left to Kvikville to attend the My Little Pony Con BabsCon. BabsCon was, however, further delayed to 2022 due to COVID-19, and Christine claimed that this was because of the merge as well.
Hey everybody, Sonichu here, still in Mama Christian's body for over 7 months now, and in this particular recording, I'm going to be taking a look at a rough draft of a fanfic, or possibly a retelling of a past event. And anyway, it's based on Mama's real-life event, you know, finding Bionic the Hedgehog back in the high school days and so forth. But anyway, I felt like this thing needed personal critiquing, and I just felt like I couldn't do it over multiple number of tweets or comment in the comments. Anyway, I found it on Twitter. Anyway, so this is from the Crimson Libertarian at HMarine59. That's on Twitter. So
people would continue to egg Christine on, claiming that the merge was real and that they were either from other dimensions or knew about them. At this point, Christine is interchangeably switching between acting as Maggie-chan, Sonichu Prime, and herself. And with that, we are all caught up to date. Christine has been severely mentally damaged by trolls to the point where she doesn't know reality from fiction, or at the very least, does not care for the distinction. Christine seems to have found out that the way to get the most support is by working on Sonichu, but even that is only putting a dent in the mounting debt that Christine and Barbara are facing, with now over 11 running lawsuits running against them due to outstanding bills and unpaid debts, and a reluctance to change their spending habits and running out of valuables to sell. It is uncertain where Christine and Barbara will find themselves in the future. Christine has returned to letting people into her bubble now that people have found a way to get to her by giving her money, which has caused an increase in trolls trying to mess with her all over again. Christine is almost 40 years old now and has yet to become an adult, choosing not to face reality as we know it, but rather escape from it and instead seek shelter into her own fictional world. Barbara honestly looks like she is slowly standing on her last legs, looking to be suffering from Alzheimer and some sort of respiratory disease. And with no immediate family or friends, one can only ponder what will happen to Christine once Barbara is no longer able to take care of her. In summary, Christine is, as I stated in the beginning, a perfect storm of unfortunate events all happening at once. Christine was born autistic to a family that coddled her and imposed their ideologies onto her from a very young age. They refused to deal with Christine's entitled behavior, but instead encouraged it, and Christine learned to use this to her advantage, and with it grew entitlement and greed. Not understanding how to act, she went online and became the target for many people who enjoyed poking her to watch her dance and squirm. While some offered to help, the attention was simply too much for Christine, and she time and time again fell back into her same old habits, indulging the trolls and turning her back on anyone who wanted to help her. Christine is a victim of not just circumstances, but parental neglect, deceptions, extortions, blackmailing, and the worst bullying that I have ever witnessed. However, she herself has also been the instigator, bullying others, extorting others, lying whenever it suited her, thrown people under the bus, tricked, stolen, threatened, assaulted, and harassed people herself. What makes Christine so interesting is that she's both the bully and the victim. Her story is so well documented that you can't help but going back and forth between pitying her and hating her. The story of Christine tells us about the worst things that can come from putting your entire life on the internet for people to see. What can happen when too many people become obsessed with documenting and involving themselves in a person's life, and what the worst case scenario can be for a person who clearly needs help, not receiving it simply because no one wants to admit that there is a problem. Christine's story is as much a comedy as it is a tragedy. It is a cautionary tale, and having dived this much into who she is, I now feel I got more questions than I got answers. I wish Christine all the best in her life, and I hope she'll one day grow up and start take life seriously, because I thoroughly believe it's the only way she can find her way out of this storm. The perfect storm called Christine Weston Chandler.